Not even 10 years ago, brands viewed their IPs like gold, a commodity that they protected with their lives, and never would they allow that gold to be cross-pollinated by other brands within the industry or outside. The release of the second collaboration between Supreme and Skater Mag Thrasher this past Thursday got me thinking just how much brand collaborations have become a trend in today's fashion world. Oh, how times have changed. Fashion brands large and small have begun doing the unthinkable and welcoming the creative efforts of sometimes even competitors in joint effort projects. When you think about it, this really isn't a bad idea. No brand has embodied this more than Supreme. Over the years, they've welcomed countless collaborations from tons of companies around the globe. From Nike to North Face to Vans, it's almost become a defining element of Supreme itself. I mean, there's enough market share for everyone, right? And if done correctly, joint marketing can be a huge success for both brands involved. But today, we compiled a list of 5 of the most unlikely brand collaborations. Mashups that you might have never expected, and some that might even leave you scratching your head in confusion. So with that, let's jump into the list. Coming in at number 5, Playboy. Supreme teaming up with Playboy really isn't that much of a stretch. Although I do feel a bit ashamed to admit that before watching the Amazon series on Hugh Hefner, I had no clue at how fucking cool he was in his younger years. They followed up with a 2016 spring summer drop consisting of short sleeve crew necks, sweatshorts, and a satin 5-panel cap. All told, this seems to be a relationship that's certain to continue in the future. I mean, think about it. For my entire life, Hugh was an old man. And though I did think it must have been pretty cool for an old guy to have tons of beautiful women around all the time, I had no clue how cool he was in his younger life. Anyway, Supreme has actually worked with Playboy several times throughout the years, including a holiday 2015 capsule which featured a hooded puffy leather jacket with faux fur trim and heavyweight cotton hoodie with matching sweatpants. We won't go into detail for the sake of time, but you really should check out the Amazon series. Number 4, Popeye. Popeye the Sailor was a fictional character who first appeared in the Daily King Features comic strip. It was a bit of a head scratcher to non-hypebeast. As part of their 2010 Fall-Winter Collaborative series, several pieces were made available, including an M65 military jacket, hooded pullover sweatshirt, t-shirts, and beanies, all featuring graphics of the iconic sailor. The result, however, was quite pleasing. It's Timble Theater on January 17, 1929. The character proved popular, so popular that the strip was later named after him and forever known as Popeye the Sailor. But one might not notice the connection between skate brand Supreme right off the bat, which is why on December 16, 2010, when the collaboration released, later being portrayed in animated cartoons and even a live-action movie, the Popeye character is recognizable to generations. Popeye gained further fame when World War II ramped up, where the tattooed sailor was idolized by American GIs who emblazoned the character on their gear and clothes. Really no surprise that a skate company would favor a brand popularized for producing libations for the masses, right? The snapbacks were cool, but I personally found this collaboration a bit forced and not too well thought out. Definitely one of the weaker joint efforts by Supreme. But what is surprising is that Supreme would choose a brand that produces pisswater swill that shouldn't even be allowed to carry the name beer to work with. Sidebar. I say obviously because the bucket hat, Oxford, tank top, and tote bag featured an all-over print design that would surely convince anybody that you were either a Budweiser employee or a walking advertisement. If you can't tell, I'm a craft beer guy. But biases aside, Budweiser is a household name, and it was perhaps due to this that in 2009, Supreme released as part of their spring-summer collection several obviously Budweiser-inspired pieces. But perhaps my disdain for Budweiser's products sways my opinion a little bit. I don't know. What do you think about this one? At number 2, White Castle Burgers. When news first leaked of a possible collaboration between Supreme and high fashion house Louis Vuitton, jaws dropped and the web went nuts. Food chain White Castle first opened back in 1921, and although they didn't grow as fast as some burger joints we know, I have to admit, since there's no White Castle locations here in Dallas, I had never heard of them until watching the movie. Afterwards, I remember going to try the frozen ones that they sell in the freezer section. It did manage to gain a large cult following after 2004's Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle movie released. Because if you've never tried frozen burgers, then don't, because they taste like ass. And needless to say, I'm sure they do the fresh ones no justice whatsoever. But I digress. As part of Supreme's Spring-Summer 2015 line, they teamed up with the burger company to produce a range of items including football tees, beanies, and Oxfords. Also, as a crazy three-way team up between longtime collaborators Supreme and Vans, this mashup actually wound up looking pretty nice. And with the insane popularity of the movie, in hindsight, it's not so strange to think that the two brands would team up after all. Several sneakers emblazoned with the White Castle monogram were also released. So, before we reveal the #1 most unlikely collaboration with Supreme, we have to throw in as an honorable mention the whole Supreme by Louis Vuitton connection. As almost 20 years have passed, the brass at Louis Vuitton clearly see that streetwear has now become a legit part of the fashion culture, and brands such as Supreme represent a vast earning potential. Not only because the release of a collaborative effort between underground icon Supreme and high fashion heavyweight Louis Vuitton would be such a watershed moment for streetwear, a more mature brand like Louis Vuitton was looking to further cement their legacy in the minds of younger consumers. So basically they rented out the Supreme logo for lack of better terminology. But because 17 years ago, Louis Vuitton actually threatened to sue Supreme for using a monogram similar to theirs, going as far as to issue a cease and desist order. Yep, that's basically what went down. Control is very important in any collaborative effort, and Louis Vuitton wanted to make sure they had it all. Louis Vuitton doesn't take too kindly to others infringing on their IP. Many even describe Louis Vuitton as being a quote trademark bully, as they have been ferocious in guarding their valuable IP over the years. The mashup with Supreme was almost certainly handled the same way, I'm sure. Louis Vuitton will ensure that it benefits from the partnership without any of the risks commonly associated with collaborations, namely a lack of control. However, like the collaborations with Pharrell and Kanye West, which were done entirely in-house, under the Louis Vuitton umbrella, and under the premise that Louis Vuitton had control and ownership of the end product. The main point is, the line between luxury items and streetwear is more blurred than ever. With certain Supreme items fetching thousands of dollars on the resale market, it's safe to say that it's a new day for fashion, and the big guys wanted to get a piece of the action. So when you think about it, it's really not so surprising at all. Louis Vuitton basically rented out the box logo. What would have been surprising, however, is if it were reversed and Supreme actually had control, but not the case. At #1, Rustoleum. Rustoleum is manufactured as a protective paint and coating for home and industrial use. He soon created a formula which contained whale oil, which took off in popularity. It was founded in 1921 by Robert Ferguson after he noticed that raw fish oil spilled on a rusty metal deck stopped corrosion from spreading. Now, what does this have to do with fashion or even skating? Well, nothing. Nothing at all. This is why I landed at #1. Save for the fact that Rustoleum is useful for graffiti artists, they obviously don't use whale oil anymore, but Rustoleum is still going strong in the industrial world today. But overall, I must say it was not that bad. Definitely better than the Budweiser capsule. It has no connection to the culture whatsoever. The pieces themselves are not too intricate either, choosing to go with vintage Rustoleum logos and simple block fonts and colorways. The collection is minimal and certainly unexpected. So the main constant of all these collaborations were the unexpected nature of their release. Whatever they release, we gobble up like buffet pizza. Which brings us to our next week's video. And like all other Supreme drops, they sold out instantly and became grilled shortly after, proving that Supreme can pretty much do no wrong in the eyes of fans. Make sure to subscribe by clicking the little red box below. Don't forget to shoot us a like and comment on what you think of the list.